Alright guys, I'm back to tell a story, and it looks like that's gonna be the new thing for a minute now, depending on how this goes. This time, we'll be talking about a day that felt like a year when I was going through it, and it was at everyone's favorite spot, the DMV. Like every TV show goes on about how the DMV is the worst place on earth, and how it's like where elves are grown to be caught, and low IQ moves reign supreme, but it wasn't until this day that I fully felt it. So as I've talked about in some old videos, I got my license like a minute ago at some DMV not too far from where I live. Even though I went through my own pain and suffering to get the license, that was for reasons unrelated to the DMV itself, and more like me being asked water of the driving test. I mean, that's not to say the DMV was lit or anything. Like, I still had to deal with those long wait times, but you know, that's an L you expect to take. It's like being at a store and waiting in line at the checkouts. Like, you may want all these people to go missing, but at the end of the day, you know that's the nature of business. So after I got my license the first time, I was free from the nonsense for a while. But once in whatever number of years, a person needs to update their license. Like, it's bad enough you had to get one in the first place, but the feds need to make sure you're the same person you were like 4 years ago. Like, Negro, what? I mean, at least they're not making you take the test all over again, because if that was the case, it would probably be up for me. Actually, if that were the case, it would be up for a lot of people. One thing you have to understand about the world is it's built in a way where anything that's required of everyone can't be that hard, or else most people wouldn't be able to do it, because we live in a world of brainlets. But that aside, it would actually be real life difficult to have to take the driving test every 4 years. Like, my actual driving is whatever, but the parking is still an L. So of course I made my way to the nearest DMV like a couple days in advance, because I didn't want to find out what it would be like if I was too late. But once I got there, the line was already long as can be. You see, this is back in 2020, when that one thing that ruined all our lives was in effect. The DMV was like a small building on some road, which while close to me, was the only DMV for everyone within like a 10-mile radius or something. Like, why do niggas do this? I know you got the funds to build another DMV building somewhere else in the city, my guys. Like, what are we paying you for? What are we voting you guys in for? People just want to renew their license, and have to wait their entire lifespan to do it. When I pulled up to the parking lot, the line went all the way to the road. Well, that didn't seem all bad, you know? Cause they had to keep like a feet apart, so technically, it was less people between each line. They were still going at a snail pace. You see, as the line moved, they would take a section of people at a time to go inside the building, and one of those times, I just happened to be the last person right before the line was moved up, so of course I was in my feelings over it. The line would have been long enough, even if it weren't for the pandemic restrictions, but something about making the actual length of the line really long, aside from just having a lot of people in it, really does a number on your soul. I don't know how to describe it, but just know, you should wish it on your worst enemy. Plus, this was like the middle of the summer, so we got what feels like 100 niggas sitting in a line a couple of feet apart, all across the building lots, in the burning sun with no shade, and only water balls if you're lucky enough to be close by the guys who have them. I think if you left your spot and came back, the guys in line wouldn't be on dick too much to not let you come back, but the thing is, I don't even know if the water would still be cold. I mean, for me the heat wasn't that big a deal, because I'm already burnt, but it wasn't looking good for some other people. While I was in line, this guy in front of me just collapsed from heat exhaustion. I didn't want to look like a weirdo, but at the same time, I wasn't really qualified to help, so I just stood there while some women came and did their thing. Then I heard some guys blaming the DMV for how it was constructed, because the building itself wasn't big enough to hold all these people in line to deal with the heat. And I'm thinking like, listen, I don't mean to defend the bum-ass DMV, but that's not the issue at hand. The pandemic caused the long lines, because before the whatever number of feet guidelines, it was never like this, and we could all just fit inside. What you should be moaning over is the fact that these fucking brainlets decided one DMV building was enough for 10,000 people in a 5-mile radius. After that, I was still waiting in line for a grip until I was in the building, and then there were like 4 desks I had to go to. So I finally get to the box where I'm supposed to put my information on the card, and the guy sees I'm listed as 5'8", and he's like, oh, this is a couple of years ago. You look about 6 feet now. And I'm like, huh? Listen, I know it's not cool to be a manlet and everything, but at the same time, I'm not a capper. I told him I'm 5'9", which thankfully I am. Not thankfully as in that's a good height, but as in like at least I'm not capping when I say how tall I am. The fact that he even thought I was that tall lets me know how many cappers there are, and it's like, just accept the manlet status. If you're 5'5" or something, I get it. Do what you gotta do, but 5'8" and above, you're in good company when it comes to the celebrities. Like, your favorite rapper is that height, so at that point just let it go. When I went to take the picture, I had to make sure everything was right. Like, my edge up was still fresh, and thankfully I wasn't looking too damn bad, but I remember it was some nonsense to file the paperwork associated, because it's one table where you tell them what you want on the card, another table to take a picture, then another table to sign your stuff. But yeah, I got my temporary ID ready, and they said I would have to wait for like a week before the real one would be sent to the crib, and I was like, okay, and left. I don't remember how long it took after that, but I have to say, I like the way my new license is set up. Like my old license was all vertical and it looks like a bootleg school ID or something, but my new one is clean and horizontal, just a W image all around. I don't understand why it wasn't like that to begin with, but oh well. I also don't understand why they put a picture of me in black and white in the front, just to put it in color in the back, in a much smaller resolution. Like, who is this back picture intended for? What purpose does it serve? Whose life was improved by adding it to the back of a picture? Because I can't imagine the guy who designed it was really feeling himself after he came up with the idea to do that. But yeah, that day felt like 10 times longer than it should have, and it's all thanks to a virus, and the guys in charge having the nerve to not make more than one DMV in like a quarter of the city I'm in.